Hey everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I hope that you guys are having an unbelievable week. As for me, it's been extremely busy. A lot of work going on within the business aspects of things, as well as the community involvement. For those of you who have shown your love and support for the work we're doing with this family in this young mother and her 4 kids, and getting them to safety and providing them the resources they need. We definitely appreciate that. There's still work being done. We still can use your support. I will consistently keep you updated. I don't know why that's going that now, of course. But anyway, I might have to just let it drop. But I will keep you updated as to what's going on with that as we move forward. This is going to be an ongoing thing, so get buckled in for the ride, because there's a lot going on. We're just in the first stages of getting them safe and situated, and it's anytime there are moving parts and personalities involved, the strategist is always on the game. You know, I'm the strategist. I'm reaching out to resources. I'm touching people. I'm using the resources at my disposal and everything. And the mapping out is easy, but actually getting everybody in position and making sure everybody's doing what they're doing isn't as easy as it sounds, especially when it's not being done consistently. And that's something that we talked about in our strategy meeting yesterday, Thursday. We talked about is the fact that this needs to be the blueprint of a network that we set up to where we do this on a consistent basis, because there's so many that need help that we don't have a protocol in place, a need that we don't have a protocol in place to service. And so that's that. But this is what I want to talk to you about. The fact that Joe Biden signed a bill into law that says that Juneteenth is now a nationally recognized holiday, and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of conversation is popping up, and you have extremists on both sides talking about it. A lot of it is highly uneducated, uninformed rhetoric. That's not why I'm really here. What I'm really here is I'm watching some hot points and some spots pop up, because all of this is happening right in the middle of this ongoing dialogue and debate about critical race theory. And what are we going to do about contextualizing history globally, and especially American history, and how it reflects the facts or the lack thereof. And what like Malcolm said, like Dr. Khaled Muhammad said, paraphrasing, of course, each one of them in my own words, and is that there's always, anytime that you present a truth concerning the plight and the reality and the experience of black people, the system will always parade out somebody with a black face to supposedly intellectually and academically dispute what's being said. It is playbook 101 in confronting real truths. This thing is just not going to act right. Confronting real truth as far as everything goes. Let me explain something to you. Nobody has a more open mind. One of the few things that Dr. Claude Anderson and I disagreed about back when I consulted him and his wife Joanne about the Blueprint 1.0, which is the blueprint for black empowerment that I came up with and published on the Odyssey Project site. One of the things we disagreed with is he believed that roughly around 2013 or so, blacks became a permanent underclass. And by permanent underclass, it means that there's no way that we could ever really pull ourselves up and become a vital part of the economic system here in America. While on paper and in theory, I get everything he says, I'm that person that never believes that something is impossible. I'm never the person you can use the word can't with, that Now, I never believe in, I don't believe in the word can. I don't believe in saying something can't be done. Now, will we ever rise to the challenge is another question. But that's something that I disagree with. But I get the theory. In theory, I get what he was saying. And I just respectfully disagreed. I believe that we're not just dealing with a black and white component or a mechanical or systemic component. That's also a spiritual element involved. That's also a point of reality and understanding that spiritual dynamic that has to play a role in it. What am I getting at? I am very, very optimistic about what's possible. And I know that we are capable of doing some exceptional and extraordinary things despite what we've been through. But in all of that optimism, I am never going to be the person that sits up and points to my success and the success of specific other people as an argument that there's no real issue. Anytime somebody wants to talk about the potential for social mobility, financial mobility, economic mobility, and so forth, academic mobility, so forth, for blacks, and they want to skate around the idea that there aren't specific challenges that are aimed at blacks that have been there for years, stay away from them. I'm not saying that we need to be preaching doom and gloom, that we need to be preaching white supremacy as a reality. Now, some people, when they say white supremacy, they think of white people being supreme. No, I think of it as a system with a purpose. The purpose is white supremacy. Have they attained it? Absolutely not. What they find is no matter how much they try to hide our brilliance, no matter how much they try to hide our intelligence, our giftedness, our artistry, and all these other things that we contribute so heavily to the world globally, they can't. You can't hide this. We are here. And so we know that they're not supreme. So however you want to verbalize it, it's semantics. But at the end of the day, what you have to acknowledge is that the system is there. And for a great deal of African Americans, the majority of African Americans, it has worked to a high degree. Now, of course, there are some of us who have been able to navigate this system and do some pretty exceptional and extraordinary things. I've said this for years. I've said, as long as I remain an anomaly among my people, I have not yet achieved success. Success can't be measured by how many books I've written, how many degrees I've obtained, how many homes I've owned and cars I've bought, and how much money has flowed through my hands over the past 30 years. That's not success. Success is how well have I been able to translate that into other people being able to do the same thing if they so desire. Well, first of all, my idea of what is has evolved. So having a bunch of things is not my primary goal anymore. Like I tell people all the time, the first part of my life was about me doing me. It was about me doing me. That's the reality of it. The second half of my life has been and will be about building my legacy. What will I leave behind that will speak of me? And that's the most important thing to me. Do I want nice things for me and my family? Yes, I want to provide that, but I want to make sure that after I'm gone, they can still live at the level that I have established or greater. So that is what's important to me in that sense. But until every person has access to some of the things that I've had access and can systematically trust that if they set forth a certain amount of effort in a certain way, that they'll get there. That's not the only thing. That is a mindset. You can teach the mindset, but you've also got to make sure that the components and mechanisms and machinations at play aren't so forcefully working in a person's life that they cannot even realize or even come to a mindset of being anything other than oppressed. I was just watching a video of an interview done with James Baldwin, I think in 1979. The interview was unbelievable, first and foremost. But he pointed to some very powerful things, and whether you believe him or agree with him or not, you have to acknowledge the fact that those are some issues we have to be willing to discuss. And anyone who isn't willing to discuss those issues on a highly complex level, are simply not prepared or aware, educated, or informed enough to, shouldn't be sitting up spewing dialogue about there's no real problem, that blacks are just natural complainers. What happens is people become frustrated when they don't know how to solve a problem. Anybody does that. When problems are constantly being created for the purpose of keeping you in place, and it's moving faster than you can think or reason, and you've even become convinced. There's this thing called vicarious learned helplessness. It's where you've observed others trying something so much and not being able to do it that you just become convinced that it can't be done. And so you haven't even attempted it yet, but you already feel helpless in that way because you've watched so many people fail at it before you. That's called vicarious learned helplessness. And we are a part of a culture in which we are watching the generations before us live in poverty as if it is their lot in life. And even in getting high levels of education, still be paid less than for instance, the college educated black man is on average paid less than the high school educated white man. We can't ignore that. We gotta ask why. I teach a cause and effect principle. No matter who I'm dealing with, no matter whether it's a client, no matter whether we're talking the black community, no matter whether we're talking global economics, no matter what we're talking, I teach a cause and effect principle. I believe in the universal law of cause and effect. In other words, if something is happening, you have a symptom. There's always a cause of that symptom. The reason we don't have health in America is because we treat symptoms and not causes. Well, that's not just in the physical. That's in the mental, emotional, financial, academic, social, political, all of it. We're looking at symptoms and we're not questioning and examining causes. And as long as we do that, we can talk about symptoms all day long. We can give anecdotal observations and suggestions all day long, but until we actually are aware of the causality and the complex nature of it and where it comes from and what can be done about it, and then start to build and design ways to deal with it, we're going to have the symptoms. And we can deride people for behaving a certain way. We can deride people for thinking a certain way. But until we deal with the causality, we're going to have the problem. We've got to get beyond that. We've got to hold these people who want to trumpet this notion that blacks are just complaining and that blacks don't deserve reparations and a bunch of other things out there. We need to be very careful, because there's a difference between receiving social assistance and programs and socialism and reparations. Reparations is something that's owed to someone, not something that they need or want or begging for. It's something that says something was done that cost you, and it cost you at this particular level, and so this is what is owed to you. You know, you don't see Jews talking about not deserving reparation. You ain't ask the Jews, ask the Japanese, ask the Native Americans. They want to give back their reparations, and see what the answer is. But we are shamed, we are gaslighted, and a bunch of other things when it comes to talking about reparations, as if we're begging for something we don't own and deserve. It's ours. If you only want to talk about unpaid labor, but we're not just talking about unpaid labor. We're talking about how we were purposely locked out of the economic infrastructure through black codes. Yeah, we had, enclave after enclave like Tulsa and Slocum and Rosewood and Wilmington and so many others that built these thriving. But what happened to those thriving? Every last one of them, what happened to them? What happened to the people who did that to them? So then there is a failure in the government to honor a code. There is literally wording in the Constitution that allowed it. And so the government is culpable in this. And we have to hold everyone accountable. And so I just wanted to stop by because I'm watching this as we talk about this Juneteenth thing, which is a non-issue with me. I've been celebrating Juneteenth my whole life, and it hasn't been with any type of need of validation from any white entity, any governmental entity at all. It's simply a part of the history of the state I was born and grew up in. And that's all I needed. Actually feeling some kind of way about it right now. Don't want to own it as much now that they got their hands all in it, because now it's commercialized. Now it's got a point to it. And that point is going to start sticking black people, because black people don't see it coming. I see the game being played. And so that's where I'm at right now. We got a lot of work to do. Look, I'm going to I've got business to do. I got some stuff to take care of, but I just had to stop and talk to you about that. On that note, I'm out of here.